Hello, everybody. Hi, happy Friday. Today is, what is today? November the 11th. Holy cow, we're almost to the mid of November. Hello, everybody. It's so great to see you. So great to see you. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you, Miss Vicki, for keeping an eye on the chat. I see that you said, I started this quilt along, and I'm up to block 3. Whoa! Good for you. Good for you. I miss seeing y'all. We should do a Zoom on Creative Crew. I miss seeing everybody. Hello. It's so great to see you. Before we get started today is Veterans Day. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our veterans. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And if you're on Patreon, don't forget we're going to hang out this Sunday evening. We're going to do block number 10 of the block of the month. So I can't wait to do that one. That one's going to be a lot of sewing. Hello, everybody. Hello. So it feels like it's been a really long week. Am I the only one who just feels like this has been a super long week? We're going to finish off this week by making block number 7. You'll see it right up there. And if you want to get the pattern for this, it's down in the description box. I typed in how to get to the description box here on the screen. We're going to be doing raw edge applique with some letters. And before I even switch over to the cutting mat, I just want to say, if letters and sewing words is not your thing, because it can be a lot of work if you're not going to do it the way I'm doing it today. Stitching down the edges can be a lot of work. If you still want to do the words, but you don't want to do the switching, try a permanent fusible product like Heat and Bond in the red package. You trace the words, you cut them out, you fuse them in place on your block, and that's it. You could also maybe cut your letters of your words out with felt, and that requires minimal stitching down. You could also substitute the words "Joy to the World" with some applique that you choose to fill in this block and make it a lot more simple for yourself. Today I'm going to be doing some free motion stitching. It's so great to see y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Y'all, it is raining here where I am in Virginia. So you might hear some background noise. It gets really heavy and then it eases up. And then it downpours and you can hear it and then it eases up. So if you hear background noise, that's what that is. Let's switch on over to the cutting mat. Karen says, I'm not doing the words this week. I have designed my own block. That is awesome. I am all for that. You know, we're all different. And what I enjoy, you might just absolutely not enjoy, right? And I love that you are still participating in the quilt and swapping out the applique. I would love to see what you do. So if you're part of the creative crew, please share your block. We want to see your ideas. All right, so here we are. This block is going to be rather wide, right? 20.5 inches finished. We're not finished. That's with our seam allowances, and 8.5 inches tall. And I do have 2 pages of templates for your letters today. And just keep in mind that these templates have not been mirror imaged. And so if you're tracing with a fusible, hold it up to a window and trace from the back side or use a light pad. Okay? If you're using freezer paper to do your applique, you're ready to start tracing right from the front. I have already pre-cut my backing fabric and the top block. All right, so let me just bring you up because last week I tried something different and it worked really well. So what I've already pre-done is I've cut the top and the back fabric to exactly 20.5 by 8.5. And then I pre-cut my batting. Today I'm using Warm and Natural. It is super thin. I love it. And I cut my batting at 20 inches by 8 inches. I eliminated that 1/2 inch for our seam allowances. Let me come in here and stop that focusing from happening. I forgot to do that. There we go. Y'all give me a second. I'm also going to do it for the sewing machine because I think that would be aggravating. Hold on 1 second. Okay, that's done. And one more. I'm going to come right back here. Hello. Because I forgot to do that. I tell you, it feels like it's been a long week. There we go. Okay, so let me preheat my iron. She's been asleep. And I've already cut out all my letters, okay? I did use my scan and cut this week and cut out all of my letters very quickly with my cutting machine. Before we fuse these pieces with the batting, I think I'm going to go ahead and fuse my pieces in place this week. There we go. Robin said, I used Heat and Bond Ultra for the Christmas tree balls. How did you like it, Robin? I used to do all of my applique with the Heat and Bond Ultra. Any of my earlier quilts, all of my applique was done that way. It sure does take a lot of sewing off the table and makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? Especially for the little tiny pieces. All right, so we have lots of letters, and they're going to blend in with that. But we have lots of letters to put in place. And I think the main thing I want to focus on is that we're going to have a sashing that comes over just a little bit like that, right? Over the top, the bottom, and the side of this block. So I just want to stay away from the edges so that when I sew this block to the rest of my quilt, I'm not cutting off any parts of my words, right? So I'm just going to keep that in mind. And I'm going to start just loosely arranging everything. We will fine tune it here in a second. Let's see. Yes, I love my scan and cut for cutting these out. You certainly don't need a scan and cut or a cutting machine at all. But wow, it made cutting out these letters so much easier and faster for me. Okay, so there's my letters. Let's just arrange them in a way that everything looks spaced out. And they don't have to be all exactly lined up, perfectly straight. You can be whimsical with it like that. That's cute. And now let's move these pieces over because I have to really scoot this word over a lot. Yes, it is raining off and on pretty heavy today. If you're in Florida or any of the Carolinas, how did you make out during this storm? Let's see, let's just scoot that over a little bit like that. I think that looks good. Let's scoot this up just a little bit. For this block, I didn't really have any brown that I absolutely loved. So this is actually a flannel. You might recognize it from all the things. I think I used this brown flannel a little bit during during that series. I'm just trying to see if I need to scoot this over just a little bit. It's hard to tell sitting down. There, I think that looks more spaced out and pretty even on all the sides, don't you think? I'm going to go ahead and fuse that right into place. I like to do just a couple little taps here and there and then really set it down into place. And that just takes a couple of seconds. All right, let's let that cool off and I'll see if any of my edges need another press real quick. Just take my little fingernail and just tap the edges just to see if they lift at all. And it's looking good. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just flip this right over. And I'm going to give myself a little guide so that I can put the batting right in the middle of this back. So I'm just using a ruler and I'm just going to give myself a little mark right along the bottom. You can just see that. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and pull out a glue stick and I'm glue basting my block in place. You can absolutely pin baste if you want. Y'all know me, I use the glue stick. I'm going to try to get, without lots of clumps, try to get a good little coverage. There we go. And we're going to bring in the batting. And we're just going to line that up right in the middle. As straight as possible. Straight as possible. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to add some more glue. So what I've done over at the sewing machine is I've already put on my free motion foot. I have some gray bottom line in my bobbin. And today I'm using a cream colored thread by YLI. There we go. And now we're going to bring this back fabric in and just line it right up nice and even with the front fabric. I think that's pretty good. And we're going to dry this glue. Sheila said, I had a dream someone used a hot glue gun to glue baste. Do you know, I think I actually heard someone say they did that once. I don't think it worked out really good. But I do think I heard someone comment one time that they did that. We're going to dry it from the back. And then I'm going to lift it all up and we're going to dry it from the front. We don't want to bring any wet glue over to the sewing machine. I think that's going to look really nice in my quilt. I'm hoping the brown isn't too dark. don't think it's going to be too dark. I think it's going to look okay with the rest of my quilt. All right, I'm going to let that charge and I'm going to press it one more time. This flannel is a little bit thicker, so I just want to make sure I'm drying that glue before we bring it over. Sue says, I'm late. You're not that late, Sue. You're not that late. I don't think I lined that up exactly right. It's okay. I see a little bit of the back fabric peeking out here and there. All right, let's just give it one more press. I'm trying not to really overpress these letters because that is such a thing, overpressing your fusibles. That fusible just soaks right into the fabric and then your applique pieces will start to lift. But I do want to make sure that glue stick is dry. All right, so let's talk about, because I'm doing a free motion stitch, which is going to breeze me right through these words, right? But I know a lot of you are not comfortable doing that. So let's talk about some of the ways you could stitch down these letters. You could use a zigzag stitch. You could use a blanket stitch. I think you could do a satin stitch. However, one thing to keep in mind with that, because that is a pretty dense stitch, right? That's a lot of needle punctures, a lot of thread going down in a concentrated area around the letters. Keep in mind that that might draw in your fabrics just a little bit, but you could certainly do it and maybe ease up on the tension a little bit. Of course, you could do lots of different decorative stitches. I really liked the overlocking stitch, but I think some of these words are kind of small. So if I was not going to do a free motion stitch, I probably would do either the blanket stitch or the zigzag stitch. That's what I would do. Of course, what I'd really love to do is to have the time to do some hand stitching. But here lately, I've not had the time to do that, and I miss it. But I do think a hand stitch would work just as lovely. Anitra said, Team Free Motion Quilting. Yes, I know you're on board. Oh, Jackie, your cat's trying to catch my iron. Eee, kitty. All right. I think that's good and dry, and it's cooling off a good amount. We're going to switch on over to the sewing machine. I'm going to put on my little glove. Y'all, today's video is going to go by pretty quick because we're not ready to add any sashing to this block this week. We have a couple other pieces going into the right of this block before we can add this block to the rest of our quilt. So we're not quite ready to add sashing, so we're just stitching down some letters today. And then that's it for this week. It's an easy week. Let's move on over to the sewing machine. And I'm going to bring this over. And hopefully she plays nice today. And I'm going to be just stitching down the letters and jumping from one letter to the next. I'm going to try to be close to the edge, but not real close to the edge. If I don't go straight, it's okay. I've used a thread that kind of is going to blend right into that fabric, so you might not see too much of the stitch at all. But I'm just going to bring you along as we stitch this one out. Straight stitch. I do not have my feed dogs lowered, but I am doing a straight stitch and I set the length at a 0. I'm going to bring that bottom thread right to the top. And when I get started each time, you might not see it exactly, but I'm going to do a couple little stitches when I first start and when I stop before I jump. Just like that, right? That's going to lock it right in place. I'm trying to do it so my hands aren't in the way, but we'll see. I will tell you, this week when I cut out my words with my scan and cut, and I don't usually do this, but it worked really fantastically. Before I fused the heat and bond to the back side of my fabric, I sprayed my fabric a little sprig of starch, just a cheap, faultless spray starch, on the right side of the fabric and pressed it. And then I put the heat and bond on the back. And I'm going to tell you, the scan and cut did a marvelous job. I don't know if that's helpful for anybody out there. We're going to skip down and get the inside raw edge. And that's why I love doing free motion stitching. Because just like that, we've stitched down the letter, right? Ooh. Okay, watch out, Lisa. That is not in the best place. I apologize. I'll tell you, since I've rearranged my studio, I've not found a really fantastic place for this camera. I still struggle, like every week I try to find a really good place to put it with so I won't hit it, but I'm still struggling. Can you hear my cat? He's out in the hallway crying. Oh, poor baby. He has been really needy here lately. You see, I'm just folding this up just to fit right inside my throat space there. You'll see, I'm not going really, really fast, right? You don't have to do it super fast. I just try to keep the motion as steady as possible. Trying not to hit the camera. There we go. I feel like I should be talking more, but then I can't concentrate. I don't feel like a multitasker today. I think some days that's easier than others. We're coming right along. We just have this letter and these two smaller ones left. I really do love the feel of this flannel. I will tell you, I've been debating. I have not done a whole quilt top in just flannels. Now, I've quilted quilt tops for other quilters that were all flannel on the top, and they were lovely. I've never made a quilt top with just flannels on the top, but I've been contemplating doing the medallion mystery in flannels. Contemplating. All right, y'all. Just like that. I say just like that. We've been here a couple minutes. But just like that, all of the letters are stitched down, and now we're going to cut these little jump stitches on both the front and the back. All right, so I have my little snips just in case I need them, but these long jump stitches I can do pretty easily. Yeah, that thread just blends right on in there. In person, I can see it, but it looks really good. I do think that I need to change the fabric I have on my pressing board. I think it affects the lighting of my camera. I do think that. Of course, with it being flannel, all of the little threads want to stick to it. Here we go. So let's see if I can hold that up. Nope, the light's going to wash it right on out. I do think if you quilted the background of this, that would be perfect. I think I'm just going to go really simple, and the words being stitched down will quilt my black at the same time. I'm just going to cut these little threads off too. That way I don't have to remember to come back and do it later. Plus, I think today's block has gone by super fast. The bottom line just really blends right on in. And one reason why I love using it, especially when I'm quilting, is because it's so super duper thin that the quilt still stays really soft. Even if you throw down lots of quilting on it, it still stays really nice and soft. I know I'm probably missing some because it just blends right on in. No, maybe I got them all. All right, there we go. So there is block number 7, y'all. Sue said you make it look so easy. I would tell you, if you're not comfortable doing free motion stitching, I highly suggest just load up some scraps, right? We all have those. And sit down with your machine. I'm going to tell you, when I first started doing all the free motion stitching, it was not that smooth and not that quick. And I found it rather awkward, just to be really honest with you. But it's like everything we do, right? The more you do it, the easier it becomes, the more comfortable you get sitting at the machine and doing it. And it's just like when we were learning cursive. Remember that? And if you saw your papers when you first learned how to write your name in cursive, And then by the end of the school year, it looked so much better. It's kind of like that. Trinita, I would tell you your family has been through some losses this last year. I'm so sorry to hear that. Arlene, you just finished a t-shirt quilt. That's awesome. And it was easier than the other 4 you did. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Karen said, I made a little sample quilt for free motion quilting practice. That's really smart. So that's it, y'all. This block is actually going to rest right underneath of, and this is not going to all fit in the screen anymore. She's getting a little bit of size to her, but it's going to fit. Let's scoot this up a little bit. You have the gingerbread man and the snowman and the candy canes, and this block is going to sit right underneath of it and extend a little bit underneath of the candy cane blocks, right? But you'll see why we can't add any sashing, because we still have some empty space right here, and we're going to be filling that in and adding sashing between those units, right? And then we can connect it to the bottom of this section. So right now we're sort of in limbo. But I do think this brown is going to go really nicely with the rest of my quilt. I was a little scared it was going to be too dark, but see all the little speckles in it? In person, they're like really cream colored little speckles, and it kind of ties in with backgrounds of my blocks. So I think it's going to be okay. But there we are. Next week, what are we doing next week? I think next week we're actually doing a couple blocks all in one. I think we're going to be doing some piecing and some applique next week. So next week's video might be a little bit on the longer side. Wow, the snow is almost hip deep. It took me forever to feed the goats and the quail today. Hip deep. I don't think I've ever been in snow that was up to my hips. That is deep. That is really deep. Here in Virginia, I don't know that it's ever snowed that much. Not while I've been alive. That is super deep. Yeah, I think that's going to go really nicely with my quilt, don't you think? I think so. Carolyn said, if you're making a t-shirt quilt, is it okay to add some flannel? Sure. And the really cool thing about t-shirt quilts is that all of the t-shirts, I'm going to switch over to this camera. All of the t-shirts, I'm willing to bet, are different brands and different mixes of fabrics, right? Cotton and polyester. Like this shirt is mostly polyester with a little bit of cotton. And I might put that next to a t-shirt that's 100% cotton. So you got a whole mix of fabrics going on in a t-shirt quilt anyway. And I have quilted quilts, t-shirt quilts for other people who have absolutely added flannel sashing or flannel borders or flannel patchwork into their t-shirt quilts. Yes. Hazel said, Hazel, how are you feeling, Missy Pants? Yeah, she said the speckles look like snow. They kind of do, don't they? They kind of do. Catherine said, rain is needed in Texas. I know we've gotten some rain today for sure here in Virginia. I think it's supposed to rain through the day and into tomorrow. Oh, you're feeling better. Hazel, I've been thinking about you. When you are free motion quilting, are you supposed to use the same weight thread on the top and the bobbin, or can we switch it up? So let me just show you. Let me show you. Today I used bottom line. Oh, actually, it'll probably just be easier to show you like this. And I need to take the thread out of my machine anyway before I open up that door. Because my cat Ashley, that'll be the first thing he checks. So let's do that. Give me just a second. Actually, I'll put this back in there so he can't get that. Bottom line is super, super thin. Let me switch this camera back over. So this is bottom line, and this is a 60 weight. So it is super, super fine and thin, right? And then on the top, today I used YLI. And this, does it say? It doesn't say. It doesn't say what weight it is. So I cannot be really specific. But what I am going to do, see that? And see that? That's probably too far away. Let me see if I can, nope, that's going to wash out. I'm trying to bring it up close so that you can see the different weights. These are two totally different weighted threads. And I think, actually, that's not going to show very well either. See that? Two totally different weights. The key, I think, is your tension. So what I like to do is to have just a scrap little sandwich. And I don't know where mine is right now. A scrap little sandwich sitting close by. And test out your tension with your two different threads on a scrap piece before you start quilting or stitching on your actual project. Ooh, it's raining in New York too. I hope that was helpful. Where do you get bottom line thread? I ordered mine. Where did I order mine? Was it Connecting Threads? I can't say for sure because I've ordered so much stuff. I would Google it, bottom line. I'd have to go look through all of my stuff to see. I will tell you though, when I was at the quilt show last February, there was a booth that was selling it, and I bought lots of gray, lots of black, lots of cream color, and lots of white, because those are the main colors I like to use anyway. But I'm trying to think if it's going to come to me right off the top of my head, and it's not. Superior Threads. Look up Superior Threads. That might be where I got it. Superior Threads, bottom line. Shay Shay's Southern Kitchen said, what size needle do you use for free motion quilting? Well, I would tell you, usually I use an 80-12, but I used my last one. So a couple videos ago, I switched over to a Smith's Universal Needle, size 90-14, and that's what I used today, and it worked really good. The only thing about it is the hole that punctures through is a little bit bigger than the 80-12. But today I used a 90-14. If I was stitching down some really small parts like Eyes of the Gingerbread Man or something, I would prefer like an 80-12 size needle. Karen, yes, I want to see your train when you're done, Karen. I would love to see it. That's so funny. I almost did a train in this quilt. That's so funny. Oh yeah, Sally said a lot of shops that carry long arm supplies carry bottom line. Danielle, your machine is in the shop. Oh no, how long is it going to be there? Hazel said, I miss seeing your project wall behind you. I'm nosy. Well, okay, so let me just give you a brief description of what's on my wall. It's mostly blank. I will tell you what's on my wall. 2 of the mug rugs that we just did, the little house, the log cabin house mug rug, I pinned those on the wall. Block number 1 that we did, I had made 2 practice blocks. This one right here. I had done 2 practice blocks. Those are pinned to my wall. I have a great big crocheted granny square that I blocked, and I've pinned that on the wall just to keep it away from the cats. And some extra sashing for this quilt is pinned to the wall, and that's it. The rest of it is all empty. So you're not missing too much. Ah, so it's been there a week and you should get it back next week, 2 weeks. I will tell you, today is the first sewing I've done since last Friday. That's how busy everything else has been this week. This week has been extremely busy. And today is the first time I've sat down with my sewing machine, which feels crazy. Sue, you're almost done organizing your sewing room. That's a job, isn't it? When I moved things around, I was like, I cannot believe I've accumulated all of this stuff. I'd say 50% of it is unnecessary. Unnecessary, but I don't want to get rid of it yet. I think one day I would love to downsize and do tiny living. And when I was removing everything and rearranging this studio, I realized right then how emotionally difficult that might be when we get to that. But I still want to do it. I still want to do it. But I think it'll be a process. And the longer we're here, the more I tend to accumulate stuff. Danielle, I love watching diamond painting videos. I've never done it, but I love watching the videos. I will tell you, Today went by really quick. Yeah, what can we talk about? The medallion mystery quilt coming up in January. I have changed the color scheme on that quilt design 4 different times. And right before the live, I found a fabric designer, and I just instantly fell in love with her fabrics. I know I'm going to mess up her last name. I'm famous for that. But on what website was I at? I hope I didn't lose that paper. I think it was the Fat Quarter Shop. Carries a whole bunch of her fabrics. Betsy Chachaney? I don't even want to say her last name. I'm going to spell it because I'm horrible. If I hear somebody say it, then I can say it. Chutchian. I fell in love with her fabric line. Actually, a couple of different ones. And so I think I'm going to use her fabric in my medallion mystery. That's what I'm going to work on this weekend, is figuring out the fabrics I want to use. Sally, I did get the link. Darlene, that's going to start in January. Sheila said, how can we sit together if you downsize? We'll figure out a way, Sheila. Where there's a will, there's a way. Connie said, we are downsizing after 40 years. It is emotional and hard. I imagine it is. How long have you been in this house? I think 3 years now. Isn't that crazy? I think it's been 3 years now. Actually, yes, because this will be our 4th Christmas. But see, we moved in the summertime. And we had 1, 2, 3. This will be our 4th Christmas here. Oh, Wanda's going to go fabric shopping? That sounds fun. Oh, Sheila, you've had a fat 1/8 of one of her lines. I'm going to tell you which one. Hold on a second. I'm going to tell you the name of the line I was looking at. Well, the one I really, really wanted to use was called Susanna's Scraps. But I'm having a hard time finding some of the neutral colors. So, Kate's Garden Gate. That's the line I think I'm going to go with. I think. That's the line. That is a really pretty line. It's got lots of blue, lots of neutral colors, lots of homey colors. I'm really wanting to hang, once we're finished, with the medallion mystery quilts. I have a wall downstairs in the family room that it would look perfect on. The size and everything. And I really want to pick colors that coordinate with that room. And more importantly, the rug we've put in that room has some really earthy colors. And I think that would be fantastic, right? There's lots of rust colors. There's a few pops of like a royal purple and browns. Some darker beige colors. A few pops of a light beige. And I really want those colors. Somebody asked me the other day, and I didn't have time to comment back. the Medallion Mystery Quilt, is there any paper piecing? No paper piecing. It's going to be a smidgen of applique, and the rest is just normal piecing patchwork. I will provide paper templates that you can use to cut out your pieces, so you won't have to buy any specialty rulers to cut out your pieces for the patchwork, so that's nice. I was also asked, is it beginner friendly? And I do think a majority of it is. There's one block that we're going to be making during that quilt that, if I had to say beginner, intermediate, advanced, that block sort of falls in the middle. But the nature of how we're going to break down those videos, we're breaking down all the steps, and I'm doing stuff that is not in order so that at any time you can't really picture what the quilt's going to look like. That's the mystery of it, right? But we're going to break down the assembly of the block so that even if you are extremely beginner, I'm hoping that the way we're going to break it down, that you'll be able to absolutely join along and sew these pieces. Yep, in January. I don't have a specific date. I have to look at my calendar and see what's going on in January for a good start date. But I'm thinking sort of mid-January. Earlier, maybe. Oh, let me write that down. Milestone quilts. A millstone. Ooh, that's in Mechanicsville. I would really, really love to find it in person and buy it in person. But if I have to order it, I will. Connie said, how do we prep, like material to buy? So before we actually begin making the pieces, I'm going to give you lots of advance notice on fabric requirements, and I'm going to show you the fabrics that I'm going to use. So that you'll have plenty of time to source fabrics for that quilt. I don't have that specifically right now, or else I'd give it to you. I'm still sourcing my fabric and designing a color scheme that works really nicely with the quilt. I've done 4 different layouts with colors. I have 2 that are my favorite, but I need to buckle down and just pick one. And then I will know exactly the yardage to give you. And the awesome thing is you could absolutely do it scrappy, right? But if you were to buy fabrics according to a color scheme, like what I'm using, the good news is I'm only using 6 or 7 different fabrics. So yeah. I'll let you know if I'm down for a road trip. Egg rolls. You had to go and mention egg rolls. Now I want some. Okay, y'all. I hope that you share lots of pictures. I'm going to tell you what. Y'all are doing so good with this quilt. I've rethought my sashing color so many times because y'all are sharing pictures of yours. And I'm like, oh, if I want to change my sashing color, now's the time to do it. I'd have to pick all this blue stuff off. But before I move on, it would be the time to do it. That's what happens when y'all share pictures. But what also happens is you inspire so many other people. And you give really great ideas. Like I might do the eyes one way and you might do them another, and someone else gets inspired by your way. So I'm really thankful that y'all are sharing your pictures. And the sad part is I don't have time to sit down and comment on every single one of them. I wish I did. I wish I did. But I certainly see them, and it's been so much fun. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'm hoping the sun comes out some this weekend. We shall see. We still have a little bit of leaves on our trees. Not many. Not many. The last week, a lot of them fell. But it's still kind of pretty outside, yellow and orange. Few pops of red. Okay, everybody. I cannot wait to see you next Friday. Next Friday, we've got lots of sewing to do. We're going to be doing some piecing and some applique. So, yeah, I'll see you next Friday. Until then, I hope y'all stay safe. Have lots of fun sewing time. And if you can't sew for whatever reason, your machine's in the shop, I hope you have fun doing something else creative. Bye, everybody.